The Kravari descended upon the planet Zeta-13 with an air of quiet confidence. Their craft, sleek and shimmering with alien alloys, landed smoothly in a dense forest shrouded in morning mist. These beings were no strangers to exploration. They hailed from a tranquil, orderly world, where every variable was known and every danger meticulously catalogued. They had explored volcanic worlds, acidic atmospheres, and barren wastelands, always emerging unscathed. Zeta-13 was just another name on their long list of conquered terrains. Their biological advantage was their danger sense, an innate, telepathic ability that allowed them to detect threats before they even manifested. It was this sense that had guided them safely through countless perilous missions. As they stepped out of their craft, their antenna-like appendages twitched, scanning the environment. The air was dense with oxygen, the foliage impossibly vibrant, and the sounds of unseen creatures echoed through the trees. The readings from their instruments were chaotic: temperature fluctuations, magnetic interference, and strange patterns of seismic activity. The planet was alive in ways the Kravari found both intriguing and unsettling. Their leader, Vailn, analyzed the data on his holodisplay. Zeta-13 was a Category 7 Death World, a term rarely assigned in the Galactic Codex. Worlds at this level were deemed uninhabitable for most advanced species due to their aggressive ecosystems and volatile climates. Yet Vailn and his team dismissed the classification with a smirk. The galaxy often exaggerated such claims, and they had never encountered a world that could truly challenge them. The Kravari moved deeper into the forest, marveling at the planet's ecosystem. A herd of delicate, four-legged creatures with branching antlers grazed peacefully nearby. Their danger sense registered nothing, and the Kravari began documenting the creatures with their scanning equipment. But before they could finish, the serenity shattered. A pack of wolves emerged from the underbrush, eyes gleaming with predatory intent. In an instant, the wolves charged, and the herd scattered. The Kravari recoiled, their danger sense now flaring, as they watched the coordinated, brutal efficiency of the predators. They activated a protective barrier, the wolves unable to penetrate the shimmering field. Still, the encounter left them uneasy. On their world, prey animals were docile and predators predictable. But here, every living thing seemed to move with a purpose that defied their understanding. Continuing their exploration, they encountered Earth's smaller inhabitants. A swarm of insects darted around them, their stingers carrying venom that irritated their sensitive skin despite their advanced suits. They swatted the creatures away, their danger sense tingling with every buzz and flicker of movement. Birds swooped overhead, some displaying aggressive behavior, as they defended their nests. The Kravari's technology shielded them from direct harm, but they found the constant, unpredictable challenges exhausting. Vailn's second-in-command, Kiresh, muttered a thought aloud, telepathically shared with the team. This world's creatures lack sophistication. Their danger is primitive, born of chaos, not intelligence. The others silently agreed. Yet, for the first time in their storied careers, the Kravari felt a sliver of doubt. This world did not conform to the patterns they knew. It was wild, untamed, and deeply unsettling. Despite their unease, they pressed on, their confidence masking the growing tension. Earth, they concluded, was chaotic but manageable. It was only a matter of adapting to the patterns. But in their quiet overconfidence, they failed to grasp the true nature of what lay ahead. In the dense, untamed forest, the Kravari detected movement ahead. Their scanners honed in on a lone human, cloaked in practical, weathered clothing, moving silently through the underbrush. He carried a strange object slung over his shoulder, which the Kravari assumed to be some crude hunting tool. His every step was calculated, his eyes scanning the landscape with an intensity they had never observed in other creatures. To the Kravari, he resembled a predator, but one without the grace or efficiency of Earth's natural hunters. Vailn instructed the team to observe from a distance. Their scanners processed the human's actions, yet the data was baffling. The object he carried emitted no energy signature, and its purpose eluded them. When the human paused and began inspecting tracks in the dirt, the Kravari assumed he was relying on primitive instincts. His method seemed slow and inefficient compared to their own precise tools for identifying prey. This, they believed, was Earth's apex predator? Low intelligence paired with sheer physical dominance, nothing more. As they continued to monitor, the human crouched beside a tree, pulling out a knife to whittle at a branch. The Kravari misread this action as idle behavior, further solidifying their assessment of him as a simplistic being. Yet the truth evaded them, each movement was purposeful. The human was fashioning a makeshift tool, adapting to the moment with a creativity they couldn't comprehend. Driven by curiosity, Koresh broke formation, approaching the human undetected. Their cloaking technology rendered them invisible to the eye, and the Kravari's danger sense showed no immediate threat. To Koresh, this was a safe opportunity to examine Earth's apex species more closely. Moving silently, they came within a few meters of the human, marveling at his obliviousness. But as Koresh leaned closer, something unexpected happened. The human froze mid-motion. His head turned slightly, his body tensing as though he sensed something out of place. Before Koresh could retreat, the human sprang into action. He swung the object from his shoulder and, in one swift motion, fired a deafening shot into the air. The weapon's thunderous roar shattered the forest's tranquility, sending birds scattering into the sky. Koresh staggered back, their danger sense flaring violently. The Kravari scrambled to understand what had just happened. The human wasn't fleeing, nor was he attacking directly. The shot seemed calculated, a warning, not a strike. The human scanned his surroundings with narrowed eyes, his body language shifting into a defensive stance. He muttered to himself in a low tone, words the Kravari's translators struggled to interpret. Despite their cloaking, the human's behavior suggested he had pinpointed their presence, or at least, he knew something was nearby. For the Kravari, this level of awareness was deeply unsettling. No other species had reacted this way under similar circumstances. Valen issued an immediate order for Koresh to retreat. The human's response, unpredictable and precise, unnerved the Kravari. They regrouped a safe distance away, the tension palpable. Their telepathic link buzzed with fragmented thoughts, each member trying to reconcile what had just occurred. The human had displayed aggression, yes, but it wasn't mindless. His reaction was deliberate, strategic even. Yet it defied the patterns they had come to expect. Back aboard their craft, the team replayed the encounter in detail, analyzing every movement and reaction. Valen reviewed the human's response, searching for logical explanations. The weapon, though archaic by their standards, was undeniably effective, and its use as a warning rather than an outright attack suggested a deeper understanding of conflict than they had initially assumed. They debated whether the human's heightened awareness was a coincidence or evidence of an advanced survival instinct. Koresh, still shaken, shared their perspective. They hadn't just felt the human's aggression, they had sensed something deeper, a kind of focus that went beyond mere instinct. But the team dismissed this as overinterpretation, attributing the human's reaction to luck and reflexes rather than intellect. The data was inconclusive, and the Kravari found themselves more perplexed than before. If humans were as unpredictable as this lone encounter suggested, studying them would require extreme caution. Valen concluded that their earlier assumptions had been flawed. The human's ability to detect their presence despite advanced cloaking technology was a mystery that demanded further investigation. For now, they labeled the human species as reckless and volatile. Yet beneath their confidence, a subtle unease began to take root. This was no ordinary apex predator. The Kravari had positioned themselves on a ridge overlooking a human settlement, their instruments silently recording the activity below. It was a scene of apparent disarray, humans moving about with their peculiar vehicles and tools, constructing, demolishing, and organizing in ways that seemed chaotic yet oddly purposeful. Their danger sense was calm. This area posed no immediate threat. But Earth, as they were slowly learning, was never predictable. Without warning, the ground beneath them shuddered violently. The ridge trembled, and the air filled with a deep, resonant roar. At first, they assumed it was some human machinery, but the tremors grew in intensity. Trees swayed like grass in the wind, the earth itself splitting open. Their instruments flared with alarms, yet none could provide a clear analysis. The seismic patterns defied logic, erupting with a force and randomness that sent the Kravari stumbling. Their technology, so often their shield, faltered. The earthquake's magnetic interference disrupted their stabilizers, throwing their levitation systems into disarray. Shields flickered and failed as rocks dislodged from the ridge, tumbling toward them in deadly cascades. The Kravari scrambled to maintain their footing, their danger sense overwhelmed by the sheer unpredictability of the event. They were unaccustomed to such raw, untamed power. Valen shouted orders, though telepathic precision was rendered chaotic in the turmoil. Sharp debris tore through their protective suits, minor injuries mounting as they struggled to move. An aftershock rippled through the ground, sending one of their team plummeting into a fissure. Despite their advanced capabilities, the Kravari found themselves utterly vulnerable, reduced to survival instincts against Earth's indomitable will. Through the dust and chaos, movement caught their attention. A group of humans, seemingly undeterred by the disaster, emerged. They navigated the treacherous terrain with practiced ease, their faces grim but focused. They moved with a clear purpose, assisting one another without hesitation. The Kravari observed from the shadows, assuming their cloaks would keep them hidden, but the humans paid them no mind regardless. They were too engrossed in rescuing their own. The humans formed chains to pull survivors from collapsed structures, their voices carrying instructions and encouragement. Despite the disarray, there was no panic, only a determined rhythm. The Kravari watched in silence as a group of humans worked to free one of their own trapped beneath a fallen beam. A crude but effective pulley system was constructed in minutes, their teamwork seamless. The aliens, who had barely managed to escape their own peril, were struck by the humans' ability to not just survive but to actively protect and rebuild amid the chaos. One of the Kravari, weakened by injuries, collapsed near a group of humans. A human glanced in their direction, eyes narrowing. For a moment, the Kravari feared discovery. But the humans simply turned back to their task, seemingly dismissing the alien presence as unimportant or irrelevant. To the Kravari, this reaction was both baffling and humbling. Were the humans truly oblivious to their existence, or did they simply prioritize their own over all else? Either way, the message was clear: the humans thrived where the Kravari struggled. When the tremors finally subsided, the Kravari regrouped, battered and shaken. Their technology, so often a source of superiority, had proven insufficient against the raw chaos of Earth's natural forces. Their danger sense, overwhelmed by the earthquake's erratic nature, felt more like a hindrance than a help. Valen stared at the settlement below, where humans were already organizing cleanup efforts. Despite their injuries, exhaustion, and losses, they moved with purpose and resilience. In their silence, a realization took root among the Kravari. They had always believed their civilization to be the pinnacle of adaptation, their danger sense the ultimate evolutionary tool. But on this world, their advantages were nullified. Earth demanded not just intelligence or tools, but something deeper, an instinctive adaptability, an ability to face the unknown with unyielding resolve. It was something the Kravari lacked, and they couldn't help but feel the sting of their inadequacy. This world was not just a death world. It was a crucible. And the humans, forged in its chaos, were unlike any species they had encountered before. The Kravari, shaken by their experiences, decided it was time to establish direct communication with humanity. They needed to understand these unpredictable beings and seek a truce to prevent further mishaps. Using their advanced cloaking technology, they infiltrated what they assumed to be a key human research facility, a location bustling with activity and bristling with machines they couldn't fully comprehend. They believed this site represented the pinnacle of human intellect and governance, a logical place to initiate contact. Unbeknownst to the Kravari, they had entered a military base. Their movements, though cloaked, triggered subtle disturbances, flickering monitors, interference with electronic systems, and faint, unplaceable noises. The humans noticed immediately. Alarms sounded, and the base went into lockdown. The Kravari found themselves surrounded as soldiers, armed with weapons unlike the crude firearm they had previously encountered, moved into formation. The Kravari's danger sense flared to unprecedented levels, warning them of immediate and overwhelming threat. The humans didn't attack blindly. They moved with precision, coordinating through rapid exchanges of words and gestures that the Kravari could neither decipher nor predict. Their tactics were deliberate, their actions fluid. They outmaneuvered the Kravari, forcing them into a corner without a single shot fired. It was a display of strategy and adaptability that left the aliens reeling. How could a species so chaotic in its daily life operate with such calculated precision in conflict? Pressed against the wall of the base's hangar, the Kravari activated a force field, a shimmering dome that rendered them untouchable. For a moment, they felt secure. The humans, however, were undeterred. Rather than retreat or attack wildly, they paused to reassess. Some observed the force field, taking detailed notes and measurements. Others communicated through gestures and devices, clearly sharing insights and planning their next move. The Kravari's danger sense spiked as they realized the humans weren't merely threats, they were calculating predators. Their actions were deliberate, their strategies adaptive. One human, standing apart from the group, caught the Kravari's attention. He carried a small, unfamiliar device and seemed to be studying the field intently. The Kravari's scans couldn't identify the device's function, but its purpose soon became clear. With a series of precise actions, the human manipulated the device to emit a targeted energy pulse. The force field flickered, destabilized, and collapsed. The Kravari froze. For the first time in their history, they felt a primal fear. Their technology, the cornerstone of their dominance, had been breached, not through brute force, but through ingenuity. The humans closed in, weapons trained but not firing. The Kravari's danger sense screamed at them to act, but there was nothing left to do. They had been outmaneuvered, outthought, and overpowered by a species they had once deemed primitive. Valen stepped forward, antennae drooping in a universal gesture of surrender. The Kravari deactivated their cloaking devices, revealing themselves fully for the first time. The humans, though visibly surprised, didn't panic. Their leader, a woman with a calm and authoritative demeanor, stepped forward. She held her weapon low, signaling no immediate intent to harm, but her posture was firm. Valen projected a telepathic message, one of peace and apology, explaining their presence and their misunderstanding of humanity. The human leader listened, her expression unreadable. When Valen finished, she responded with measured words, her tone steady but edged with warning. The Kravari's translator struggled to capture her meaning, but the message was clear: Earth was a dangerous place, and survival here required more than advanced technology. It demanded resilience, cooperation, and respect for the unpredictable forces at play. The humans lowered their weapons but remained wary. For the Kravari, this encounter was a turning point. They had come to Earth seeking knowledge and found themselves humbled instead. Their arrogance had blinded them to the true nature of this world and its inhabitants. In surrendering, they had not only saved their lives but also gained a chance to learn what it truly meant to survive on a death world. The Kravari found themselves sitting across from the humans in an improvised meeting space within the military base. The atmosphere was tense but no longer hostile. The human leader, now joined by a few others, engaged them in conversation. The Kravari relied on their telepathic abilities and translators, piecing together meaning from the humans' words and expressions. The humans began to recount their history, not as a boast but as an explanation. They spoke of centuries of struggle, enduring natural disasters, navigating brutal wars, and surviving diseases that swept across continents. They explained how, time and again, their species had faced extinction, only to rise stronger. The Kravari listened, astonished. On their own world, such challenges were rare and manageable. For humans, these challenges were the norm. One human, a scientist, stepped forward to elaborate. She described Earth itself, a planet of extremes, with volatile weather patterns, diverse ecosystems teeming with both beauty and danger, and geological instability. This planet, she said, shaped us. Every trial we faced demanded that we learn, adapt, and innovate. Weakness here is a death sentence, but resilience is rewarded. That's why we are who we are. Her words struck the Kravari deeply, resonating in a way they couldn't ignore. The Kravari began to connect the dots. Humanity's lack of physical advantages, no claws, no venom, no overwhelming strength, was irrelevant. Humans had survived by mastering their environment through intellect and ingenuity. They cooperated, strategized, and innovated in ways the Kravari had never encountered. What the aliens had dismissed as chaos was, in fact, a complex system of survival built on millennia of hard-earned experience. The humans' resilience wasn't limited to external dangers either. They spoke candidly about their internal struggles, wars fought not for survival but over ideology, power, and resources. Yet even in their darkest moments, humanity had found ways to rebuild, to strive for something greater. The Kravari were unprepared for this level of self-awareness and determination. They had always assumed that conflict indicated weakness. In humans, it seemed to forge strength. As the meeting drew to a close, the Kravari requested one last explanation. Why did humans remain on a planet so dangerous, one that continually tested their survival? The answer was simple: Earth wasn't just their home. It was their crucible. It had shaped their identity, their ingenuity, and their ability to thrive against all odds. To leave it would mean losing the very essence of who they were. The Kravari, humbled, returned to their ship with a newfound perspective. Their previous arrogance was gone, replaced by a profound respect for humanity. In their records, humans were no longer an anomaly to be dismissed or feared. They were something far more complex. The Kravari classified them as a Category Alpha threat, not for their aggression but for their unmatched adaptability and potential. As they prepared to leave Earth, Valen took one last look at the planet below. Its vibrant, unpredictable surface teemed with life, a stark contrast to the Kravari's orderly homeworld. For the first time, Valen didn't see Earth as a death world. It was a proving ground, a place that had forged its inhabitants into something extraordinary. The Kravari vowed to spread the word across the galaxy. Beware the Deathworlders, not because they are hostile, but because they are more than we could ever be.